It's 7 p.m. and I'm sorry, 7:03 p.m. and I'd like to call the May 19th regular session number 3 of the Raytown Board of Aldermen to order. I would like to mention that we do have an amended agenda in front of us this evening, as the resolution R-2770-15 has been moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. I would ask Linda's not here?
No, I'm Sue.
Okay, could you come up, Sue? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Introduce yourself, and she's here for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm Sue Klotz, and I'm part of the Interfaith Alliance, and most of you have seen me many times, so would you join me in prayer, please? Father God, as we come together this evening, we are grateful for this day and for all the blessings you give us. We ask for your care for all who need help, especially after the storms and all other things that they may face. We ask for guidance for our leadership and all here to do the business of Raytown this evening. Help those making decisions this day so Raytown may continue to be a place we want to be in. As the business concludes, we ask for safe travel for all as they go home. These things we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening.
This time I ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Black.
Here.
Alderman Josh Green.
Here.
Alderman Azier.
Here.
Alderman Jason Green.
Here.
Alderman Emerson.
Here.
Alderman Moore.
Here.
Alderman Myers.
Here.
Alderman Van Buskirk.
Here.
Alderman Mock.
Here.
Alderman Tiemann.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Could I please see the EMS folks at the podium? You guys move over this way a little closer. All right. Whereas in 1973, President Gerald Ford authorized EMS Week to celebrate emergency medical services, its practitioners, and the important work they do in responding to medical emergencies, and whereas a lot has changed over the last 4 decades, EMS is now firmly established as a key component of the medical core continuum, and the important role of EMS practitioners in saving lives from sudden cardiac arrest and trauma, in getting people to the hospitals best equipped to treat heart attacks and strokes, and in showing caring and compassion to their patients in their most difficult moments. And whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who's experienced sudden illness or injury, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value of the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designing Emergency Medical Services Week. Therefore, I, Mayor Michael McDonough, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2015 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS Strong. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Signed this 19th day of May 2015, Michael McDonough, Mayor. Thank you for your services. Thank you for all that you do for all of our citizens. Thank you very, very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the kind words. It is always our pleasure to be able to respond to the people of Raytown and any others we may be called upon to respond to. Of course, we don't like it when they have emergencies, but we do like to be able to help them out when they do. in honor of EMS Week, we have several programs that some have already occurred, some are yet to come. In a moment, we'll have Sarah give us a quick rundown on what is yet to come. But once again, thank you all for the kind recognition.
Hello, I'm Sarah Brooks. I'm the public rep for Raytown EMS as well as an EMT there. I would just like to let everyone know that we do have a couple events coming up in honor of EMS Week. We already did have one at Hy-Vee recently. A File Life event was held on Saturday that was very good. A lot of popularity there. But we have several CPR classes coming up. We have a car seat checkup event coming up tomorrow, in fact, as well as a blood drive. So we just want to get the word out about that. We're still looking for donors and still looking for the public to come out and see us. So if you know anybody who would be interested, please send them our way.
Public Works. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see you guys. This is also Public Works Week. They share that with EMS every year. And here's the proclamation. Whereas public work services provided in our community are an important part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, and streets, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of our city depends on these services, and whereas it is the public interest for the citizens and leaders to gain knowledge of and maintain a progressive interest in the importance of public works and the public works program in our community. And whereas the year 2015 marks the 55th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, now therefore I, Mayor Michael McDonough, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week May 17th through 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week in the city of Raytown, and encourage the community to join me in this worthy observance with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Signed this 19th day of May, 2015, Michael McDonough, Mayor. Thank you very much for your services and appreciation. You guys like to say something?
We'd like to thank the mayor and all of the aldermen for the recognition for the public works, for all the work that we do, and especially for our crews down at the Operations Center who do all of that work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to public comment. Anyone wanting to speak will be allowed 5 minutes. If you're speaking for a group, it'll be 10. The first one I have is, I'm sorry, I have trouble reading this. Kyle? What was your last name? Would you come up and give us your address and your name, please? Sure. How do you spell your last name?
It's Rieger, R-I-E-G-E-R.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen. My name is Kyle Rieger. I'm here on behalf of Splashtacular. As you all might recall, I was here earlier this month with respect to a change order our company presented to the city of Raytown after discovering the bid specifications for water slide maintenance at Super Splash were incorrect. I'm here tonight to make a public statement, even if there's no hope in getting our change order approved, simply to make sure everyone has the whole story, as I felt like after leaving the meeting, our company name was tarnished. Shame on me for not being prepared to make a statement or speaking up. I actually asked at one point if I could make a statement, was asked to hold on, and before I knew it, a vote was being made. I thought a little more proactive history and defense of our position was going to be defended by the Park and Rec Department. It was actually optional for me to attend, so it wasn't, and I should have spoken up. I understand that the topic of asking for more money on a contract that we had bid on, followed by a couple topics that were heavily debated for about 2.5 hours, probably wasn't the best mood to present that. Our company, we've been in business for 21 years. We're the largest manufacturer of water slides and water park attractions in the United States. Everything we manufacture is American-made, right here in Kansas and Nebraska. We're happy to call Paola, Kansas, home. We work with everyone from municipalities, hotels, resorts, large commercial parks, such as Six Flags, Disney, Legoland, and so on. We've completed over 1,000 projects to date, both domestically and internationally. We're not perfect, but this maintenance project certainly wasn't our first rodeo. It was asked if we measured the slides. We didn't measure the slides. We measured the slides after our crews began running out of material, notified the city immediately, along with our proposed change order to make this right. We did bid based on the specifications we were given, like every other contractor the city received a bid from. This was a hard bid. It wasn't a negotiated handshake deal based on assumptions or winging it. And why list the lengths of the slides and the spec if there's really no value to that in the contract phase? This could put into question anything in the contract agreement, not just the slide lengths. There was no mandate to measure the slides. There was no verbiage used, such as approximate lengths or contractor to measure the slides prior to submitting a bid. It was an error, and this is why we issued a change order. We aggressively discounted the change order, as was stated in the last meeting. We just want to cover our costs and our overhead. Even with the change order, we're lower than the next lowest bidder, as was stated. It was stated that if we bid a job, we have to bite the bullet. Not in this case. We write specifications on a daily basis. We didn't write the specification. Should we measure slides in the future? Absolutely. Lesson learned. We completed the job, did a great job on time, and acted in good faith. We could have recoded 2/3 of the slides and just crossed our arms and walked away, went home for the night until we received the change order money. We could have came back and stripped the slides for the 110 feet. We did, but we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that to you guys. We want to work together in the future. We built slides in 99% of the parks in the city and the state. We intend to do so in the future. We're doing a ton of jobs coming up here. You had a schedule to open, and we had to leave town for more work. We weren't going to leave you with a delayed opening date or an even larger amount to remobilize and come back and complete the job. We acted in good faith, and we didn't want to have poor image cast on us or the city. To conclude here, I'm representing our company because this is my job that I sold. I take responsibility for this. We issue change orders all the time. Construction's based on estimates. There's always unknowns. And mistakes happen. They're made right when they happen. If we were 110 feet off in our calculation, then we would have bit the bullet. And even the city public works director cited in our favor, recognized the discount we're offering. Lastly, I'll conclude, which was not brought up, the drop slides were also longer than was specified in the specs. They were 15 feet longer a piece. We didn't even bring that up. We brought it up, but we didn't try to charge the city for it. We took care of them. We also cleaned up the start tubs on the slides so they look nice next to the newly recoated exterior. I mention this because we're not here to price gouge the city. We're not trying to come into the back door or nickel and dime anybody. It's stated that the city isn't for signing open-ended contracts, excuse me. Neither are we. It was asked if I build a house and I'm asked to paint 3 walls and have to come back asking for more money to paint the 4th, we must have skipped a step and we didn't do our job well. You can be assured that we'd paint 3 walls and try to charge you for the 4th. Just went through a similar experience having our home remodeled in Overland Park. Thank you for having me here. It was an excellent experience working with the Park and Rec Department. Kevin and Ron were awesome. We attended several Park and Rec board meetings. It was really great working with you guys. I don't know the process of bringing the change order back up. Maybe it's a dead issue, but if it's not, I really would urge the city to consider the $10,500. If it's about being fair, life is not fair, I get that, but if the money's available, we would love to be recouped for our cost. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry if I went over the time limit. Thank you.
Mr. Steve Gunther, Main Street Association. How are you, sir?
All right. Everybody knows me, I'm sure. Steve Gunther, 11705 East 71st Court, Raytown, Missouri. I'm the president of the Raytown Main Street Association and also current vice president of the Raytown Farmers Market, which operates underneath the Raytown Main Street Association. Just here to make a few announcements. One, I handed everybody one of Elisa's business cards. If you have questions about the market, I would ask that you call her directly and get the exact information that you're needing about anything about the market directly from her. There's been some rumors and some misconceptions of what the farmers market is about and what we're trying to achieve there. So I would ask that you all call the source. In other matters, this is our second year for the Raytown Farmers Market. We currently have 8 vendors that are going to be regularly at our market, along with additionals from time to time. Little Muddy Farm, R&J Hum-Along Farm, Precious Petals and Pepperberries, try to say all these, Jackie and the Beanstalk, Lovely Day Farms, Emmanuel Kipp's Garden, McLean's Bakery, and Stony Crest Urban Farms are our regular vendors that'll be there. This year we've started a new farm, a new program, I guess you would say, under the farmers market. We have actually been accepted in the SNAP and EBT program and are working also in the Beans and Green program. I don't know if anybody knows what Beans and Greens and EBT is. I don't always get them right and somewhat confused, but it's a way of getting good organic produce to our lower income families. For every $1 that they were to purchase, they would get an additional $1 through the EBT program and the Beans and Green program. But in order to do that, we've had to solicit and find a grant that was available for us through the Kansas City, I think it's Kansas City Association. But anyway, they were willing to give us a $5,000 matching grant if we were to come up with $5,000 ourselves. The Raytown Farmers Market Board has already come up with $1,500 and will soon have $2,500 of that $5,000 raised, at which point we will all automatically be put into the program and been given a $2,500 matching, but we're hoping to get the full $5,000 so that more families in the Kansas City or in the Raytown area can eat healthy, and that's one of the things we're promoting. I would ask that if you need some more information on that, you can go to the Beans and Green program on the website. And again, we're going to be obviously soliciting businesses, and we're also having a farmers market, our Friends of Farmers Market campaign to help us raise the last $2,500. So anybody that'd be willing to help with that, it'd be great. On another note, on Saturday, June 13th, the farmers market will be having their grand opening. This is our second year, but in order to make sure that we have substantial vendors, we've held off on doing a ribbon cutting. That ribbon cutting, like I said, will be on June 13th at 11 a.m. We'll be shortly putting out a press release to the newspapers and hope to get that also on the city website. There's going to be photo booth opportunities, face painting. There's going to be people, chefs from the MU Extension there. There'll be all kinds of entertainment, supposedly, and also people for the Family Nutrition Education Program. So I just would like to invite everybody to come out on June 13th especially, but also just come out and help support the Raytown Farmers Market. This time of year is usually pretty slow. I just attended the farmers market in Washington, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. They had actually only one produce vendor. They had a lot of flower vendors, so we're not actually running behind because they actually have a very big market. And produce will be slowly coming out, but by June 13th, all of our vendors should have produce at the market. And anyway, would like to just make sure everybody has an opportunity to come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gunther. All right, in way of the communication from the mayor, I have After speaking with many of you and considering your interest in regarding possible committee and commission appointments for the upcoming year, I've prepared the attached committee and liaison appointments for 2015-16, which will be effective today. As time passes in the coming months, there will be additional opportunity to serve our city, which time I may make adjustments to the attached document. Thank you for your service, and please let me know if you have any questions or additional interests. If you will, you should have in front of you what I've done. Everybody got a copy? Okay. On the legislative committee, I've got Bill Van Buskirk as the chair and Josh Green as the co-chair, Jason Green, Mark Moore, Eric Tiemann, also on the legislative committee, and Mahesh Sharma as the staff liaison. The board liaison appointments are made with the expectation that the designated appointee attends on a regular basis the prescribed meetings of the organization, primarily through a low profile, for the purpose of communicating the desires of the mayor and the Board of Aldermen and keeping the mayor and Board of Aldermen informed of pertinent issues affecting the business of the city and the welfare of the citizens. And the Board of Education liaison will be Steve Myers. Council of Aging will be Steve Mock as a board liaison, Teresa Henry as staff liaison. Economic Development Advisory Council will be Alderman Jim Azier as the board liaison and Tom Cole staff liaison. Fire Board will be Steve Mock as board liaison and Alderman Jason Green as an alternate. Human Relations Commission, Janet Emerson as the board liaison, John Benson as the staff liaison. Park Board will be Alderman Eric Tiemann, and the alternate will be Jim Azier. Planning and Zoning, Alderman Steve Myers as the board liaison and John Benson as staff liaison. The Police Pension, Mayor Mike McDonough, Alderman Steve Mock alternate, and Chief Jim Lynch staff liaison. The Sales Tax Oversight Committee, Alderman Mark Moore, ex officio member of the board, Mahesh Sharma, ex officio member, and Mark Lawfrey as staff liaison. Raytown Chamber of Commerce will be Alderman Janet Emerson. The Tax Increment Finance Commission, or TIF, will be Alderman Karen Black as the board liaison and Mark Lawfrey as the staff liaison. And with that, if I could please have communication from the acting city administrator, Mark Lawfrey.
I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
All right. Going to committee reports. Anybody have any committee reports this time around?
Yes, I do.
Anybody?
Yeah, with Council on Aging.
Go ahead.
Okay. Memorial Day, there will be a salute to our heroes at Coleman Living Good Park from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock on Monday the 25th. If you all can make it there, there would be a color guard presentation of the Boy Scouts. I'll be the MC that day, so if you want to get a good kick out of that, see if you can make it up there that day. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Anyone else have any? Go ahead, Ms. Emerson.
The Human Relations Committee will meet this Thursday at 5:30 in the conference room. We're working on a whole bunch of projects that I think will be really beneficial to the citizens of Raytown. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move into the legislative session. We have a consent agenda, before us, and I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, or if there's any item that someone would like to remove.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Van Buskirk.
thank you. I request to move Resolution R277115 to the regular agenda.
Okay, we will remove that, and it will become item 1A on the regular agenda.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to remove? Called roll. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with that item removed.
Second.
And second is Mr. Green? Josh? All right. Call the roll.
Alderman Van Busker,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
All right, onto the regular agenda. Ms. Henry, I'm sorry, would you please read 1A?
a resolution authorizing and approving the appointment of Larry Jackson to the Board of Trustees of the Police Officers Retirement Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I have consistently opposed placing police officers on this board. The pension fund is funded 100% by the taxpayers, no funding coming from the police officers themselves. If it were the other way around, then I think it would be very appropriate to have police officers serving on the board. The chief of police is chairman of the board and a voting member. Our mayor, who just retired from the police department and is a recipient of the pension fund, as will the chief be, if he ever retires. Maybe he won't, I don't know. But this would be adding a third police officer to this board. There are only 5 people on the board. The mayor is one of those designated to serve on it. The chief of police is one of those designated to serve on it. And then 3 other citizens. Mr. Toady filled a unexpired term for the last person that resigned. He only attended 1 meeting and was apparently not asked to serve again on the commission or in the board. I think he would have been a great asset to it with his expertise in finances and the other expertise he has. But so basically this board would be stacked with police officers. And I feel like it's very inappropriate at the least, and certainly has the appearance of impropriety. I don't think it's absolutely not the right thing to do. I realize that pension is frozen. I understand that, but it's active. There is money being paid out of it to officers, and will be far into the future. And it is still being funded by our city, as is the other new pension fund that's in loggers. So, you know, it's an active board, and the board does make decisions relative to if there are changes in state or federal laws regarding pensions. They make those changes. If there are they determine who the actuary is going to be and how much they're going to be paid. They determine the attorney, how much they're going to be paid, the fiduciary, the investment company. So there are a lot of decisions they make, and there may be others that they'll be making too. I'm in no way questioning the integrity of the officer that's been nominated for this. Not in any way. But I just don't, I question, I guess, the judgment and wisdom in doing this. Chief Lynch called me the last time there was an appointment to be made, and he wanted to appoint this same officer at the time. And that's when Mr. Toady was put on the board, and we placed him there. He attended a total of 1 meeting before his term expired, and I talked to him, and he said he would have been happy to continue serving had he been asked. But Chief Lynch asked me, when he called me, he said, you know, I've heard it said that you said that it's like having the foxes watch the hen house. And I said, did you say that? And I said, yes, I did say that. I, in fact, had said that here in a public meeting. So, to me, that's, I think, probably a good analogy. I have personally attended the vast majority of those meetings for quite some time now. And, I was not a voting member of it. I was not assigned to attend them. I just had an interest in doing so. And so I know what goes on in the meetings. And I don't think it would be wise for us to do this. I think we need to reconsider it. I'll have to vote no on this resolution. Again, it has nothing to do with the officer himself. I hope you don't believe that, and I hope no one believes that. But I would strongly urge my fellow aldermen to do the same and reconsider who we want to appoint to this, to the police pension board. It would make the majority police officers or retired police officers on that board if we make this appointment. And I would urge then the mayor to recommend the appointment of a citizen that's not a part of the police department to sit in on that board. You know, Mark Twain said, always do the right thing. It'll gratify some people and it'll astonish the rest. I hope we can do the right thing. Thank you.
Mr. Josh Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I personally have no qualms with there being another police officer on this board. That being said, and after talking with a few of my other aldermen and also with Mayor McDonough on the subject, and I'm not questioning Officer Jackson at all, and that's why I will not cast a no vote, because I don't want to vote no against Mr. Jackson, because we can see he's an officer, he knows the situation, he knows what he's getting into. That being said, I believe that Rick Toady was a phenomenal person for this position, and so I will not vote against Larry Jackson. That being said, I do think that Rick Toady could have filled this position wonderfully, and I will be abstaining my vote. I'm just letting everybody know that's where I'm at.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jason Green.
I got as a clarification, maybe staff can help remind me. I think I know the answer, but all financial considerations are major ones, I guess, through this police officers retirement fund. Those decisions would have to be approved by the Board of Aldermen, correct?
Yeah, the pension board, basically they oversee the funds and they meet with the financial advisor, but any changes that are made to the plan have to be approved by the Board of Aldermen.
Okay.
So anything that they would it's a recommendation by them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Myers.
I'm going to refer this question to Mark, and it's just a backup question to Jason and maybe a reference on Bill, some of his points as far as direction of the fund, some of the people that would assist the board in the direction of that fund. I think I didn't write him down, but I mean, do you have any issues with what Mr. Van Buskirk said about some of the assistance that could be guided, per se, on that, in that area?
I think one of the, and I've discussed this with the mayor too, and one of the main functions of the pension board at this time, being that it's frozen, is to ensure that the professionals that they've hired to assist them with management of the funds are doing their job. So evaluation of the performance of their financial advisor and the performance of their actuary and the performance of their legal counsel, that's really their key function at this point. So I'm not evaluating anything that any of the board members have said, but I will tell you that that to me is what the key function of this board is at that time. And the people on that board need to have the ability to do that.
I'll follow up then. So if they had an issue with some of the areas that you just said they're supposed to have some oversight and guidance, and they wanted to make a change in that arena, they would have to come in front of this board to make that request.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Mr. Van Busker.
Thank you. Mr. Lawfrey, if they were going to make a change, say, in legal counsel, then would that have to come before our board also?
Yes, I believe it would, because they'd be entering into a contract, and a contract has to be approved by this board.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Ms. Emerson.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Jason Green, second. Discussion. No discussion. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Abstain.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
No.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Azier, Alderman Myers,
No.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Motion carries. I will ask the clerk to now read item number 2.
a resolution authorizing and approving the appointment of Steve Myers to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Ms. Senator, do you have any additional information?
This item was amended this evening, just for some clarification. The item that's underlined in your RVA states...
Could you use your microphone a little bit? Yeah, it's not picking up again tonight very well.
This is a resolution in front of you approving an appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which will be a board liaison basically to report back to you. There'll also be a voting member on the Planning and Zoning Commission. State statute states that you, as a Board of Aldermen, have the right to choose a member of your board to sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission if you so choose to.
Do I hear any discussion? Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have always thought that we probably should not have a member of our board as a voting member of Planning and Zoning. I know that's been a practice in the past, but I've never really supported that. I was hoping we could change that at this point in time and maybe just appoint someone as a board liaison. I certainly wouldn't have any problem with Mr. Myers serving in that capacity, or I don't have any problem with him serving on the Planning and Zoning Board. I asked the former mayor to appoint him, in fact. So But I wish we could go a different direction with it. My intention was to vote no on this, just to show my opposition to have a voting member there. But I think that probably would be rather futile to do that. And in order to show support of our board member that be on there, I'll make a motion that the resolution be approved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Yeah, I'm going to obviously abstain from this resolution vote.
I didn't hear. Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that for discussion, I hope that next year, or the next time, we're going to make an appointment to that, and we have a situation where we, whether we're going to determine whether we want to put a member of our board on there as a voting member on planning and zoning also. I hope that it'll be consideration, there will be consideration of just putting a board member on as a liaison, possibly in the future. And I think it'd be more appropriate, that's all. So just thought I'd throw that out.
Ms. Emerson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, I think, has very good qualifications as a real estate agent. He's very knowledgeable about planning and zoning and those kind of things. And so I think he would be a great asset, and his vote would be a one that I think would be very, very good.
Mr. Josh Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo the sentiments of Ms. Emerson. That being said, I think that there is some merit in Alderman Van Buskirk's idea of a liaison in the future. I think that maybe in future years that's something that we should possibly consider, or at least have a discussion about. I think it's considering that all these committees and boards are all designed as a citizen oversight, essentially, of these situations. And when you have an actual voting member from the board there, it kind of underweighs that just a tad bit. But I think it's an idea that should be explored more. And, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Any other discussion? Mr. Mott.
Okay. Steve is really, with already being on planning zoning the last couple of years, I think, sort of like trading places. Mr. Lightfoot's off, or Mr. Lightfoot's had to apply this time, and Mr. Myers coming on as an appointment to it. So with the discussion of the voting privileges, I think to set up a discussion sometime in the near future would be a very good idea, at least to take a good look at it, and other than that, what is it, we can have up to 15 members on that board?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is there 15? Well,
That's fine.
I was going to say, it's quite a few chairs.
Our
So,
ordinance
but
is 9.
other than that, that's about it. And I think Steve would make a very good appointment for planning and zoning. Thanks.
It's 9.
Mr. Van Buskirk.
One more comment. By ordinance, we do not have to place a member of our board on that commission. So it's our choice. So we really wouldn't have to change the ordinance if it were going to be, we're going to change that in the future to just making an appointment as a liaison, so it could stay the same. Just, okay? Thank you.
That's correct, Mr. Van Buskirk, and when I agreed with the 12 composition or whatever, that's the state statute. Our current ordinance calls for 9 members on the commission. By ordinance, we modified what was called for in the statute, sir.
Any other comments? Mr. Moore.
Our current ordinance calls for 9. You would have to go back and amend the ordinance to make it, by state law, we could go as high as.
Any more comments? Would you please call the roll?
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Azier. Yes. Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Myers, Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Moore.
Carries. Would you read number 3, please?
A resolution approving an amended formal and comprehensive schedule of fees and charges for the city of Raytown, Missouri.
Mr. Lawfrey, do you have any additional information to add?
If you recall, this was on our last agenda as part of a bigger package of fees. We split this out for the board's consideration. This is part of our moving forward with changing our current credit card processing company so that we can interface directly with our financial software, which will help us with our online payment process. Currently, the credit card processing company we use charges these fees directly. The new company does not charge them directly. They require that we collect them. That's why we need this change this evening.
Any discussion? Mr. Teeman.
Okay. For the record, I understand the reason for the 2.5%. As a city government, we're not a for-profit organization. We're just covering our bases. I get that. So all that aside, but I will kind of reference it, that 2.5% in a minute. Why $3? I think I asked you this last time, but I won't refresh my memory.
Okay. For the online transactions, we're not allowed to charge a percentage. It has to be a flat fee.
Not allowed by whom?
It's a law that we follow it under. So
It's a law?
yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
And our current credit card processor collects it directly. We don't interface with that. But when we start collecting it, the ETS, which is the company we're recommending, they require that we do either a flat fee for that or no fee. They cannot, because they will be processing it, they're not allowed to process it anymore.
Okay.
So the current credit card processing company charges $3 minimum. So that's why we came up with the $3.
Okay, so that's what the credit card company is going to charge us?
No, they charge us a percentage. We're allowed on online transactions to collect a flat fee.
Okay.
In person, we can collect a percentage.
Okay, then, so I looked at the contract with ETS and it said that the average credit card swipe was going to be $35.
That's their estimate. That's not based on what our transaction history is.
Okay.
Our average online transaction history, we feel, will be between $100 and $150.
$100 and $150? So we can use 125 as a ballpark figure?
Sure.
So 2.5% of $125 is going to be probably somewhere right around 90 cents to $1.50, and we're going to charge $3 for those transactions?
I think that your calculation is a little off.
Hold on, I'll get my calculator out because
I think it'd be closer to 250 at 125.
250, maybe. Okay. Well, I mean, because I'm going off what was on the contract was with the $35 transaction. All right, that's all I got for a minute. Oh, wait, no, I did have one more, sorry. Will there be an opportunity to, like, accept PayPal or Google Wallet in the future?
Not something that I had considered at this time, but we can definitely discuss that with our processor. Some of that will also probably depend a little on our, the ability of our software to do the online payments, so I'd have to check with them as well.
I have to say that it's a little disconcerting that we've got software that can only interface with 2 vendors in this manner. It's just, we're in a pretty digital world. It would seem that there would be more opportunities to work a little more evenly in the technological field. It seems a little restricted from my experience in online transactions and such, that's all.
Any more discussion? Yes, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Lowry, on the 2.5% transaction amount, then we get online convenience fee of $3. What does the city get out of the 3? Does the city claw any of that back, or is that to cover the fee through the ETS system?
That's to recover the fee that they charge us for the process.
Okay.
That's all. No other discussion? I hear a motion to approve. Mr. Green?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Moore, second. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Oh, yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk.
No.
Bill.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Okay.
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Motion carries. Would you please read number 4?
a resolution authorizing and approving an agreement with ETS Corporation for credit card processing services.
Mr. Jason Green.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Ms. Emerson and Mr. You withdraw? Okay. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Each second was who?
He was first. Ms. Emerson was second. Stand by just a minute. Okay. Mr. Moore.
Mr. Lowry, the contract on the ETS, is that a open-ended contract? Is there a time frame set with this? Or, I mean, is there an out for Raytown for the city?
Yeah, it allows us to cancel at any time if we're not happy with their services.
Okay, thank you.
No other discussion, please call the roll.
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Oh, that me?
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Azier, Alderman Teeman,
Yes. Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Motion carries. Will the clerk please read item number 5?
a resolution amending the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget related to salt purchases.
Any discussion? Mr. Moore.
What I'm wondering is, if you guys, and we got to have the salt no matter what, do you know how many miles of road are in Raytown?
331 lane miles,
We got 331 miles, roughly?
lane miles.
Okay. So I did some math, and math is off a little bit. I thought we had 240-something. Now, the Public Works Department, you guys do a spread rate check on your salt spreaders, don't you? I mean,
Yes, sir, we do.
You do? What exactly do you guys do on that? I mean, are you doing 10 to 15 grams a yard? Do you have any idea? Can you explain to these folks what a spread rate is?
I don't, but Tony does.
Okay, Tony.
Good evening, Alderman, Board of Aldermen, Mayor. Generally, we calculate our spread rate based on pounds per lane mile.
Pounds per lane mile?
Pounds per lane mile.
Okay.
And so you can, it depends upon fall rate, temperature, and the type of precipitation.
Okay.
So we calculate that on a sliding graph, and it can be anywhere between 200 pounds a lane mile to 1,200 pounds a lane mile, depending upon the need, and it can be multiple passes. So the average year, we treat 23 days, which is 46 shifts in an average year. You go through 1,800 to 2,300 tons in an average year.
So 1,800 has been an average for Raytown for the last, and I'm not saying we're not going to get salt, but you guys have been averaging about 1,800 tons, because my math did about 300 pounds. I've got about 300 pounds per 1 mile of spread, at least to Raytown, and I think our weather's been pretty relevant with the thickness of the ice, et cetera, because I know you're going to go, hey, we got to hit this thing hard, let's do it, let's dump and run kind of thing. How many trucks does Raytown have that spread?
That we have 8 trucks.
We've got 8
that
trucks?
have salt spreaders on them. We have 3 additional trucks that plow.
Okay, so each one's capable. Have you got a 5-ton unit, or everything's?
We have several small trucks, and we have 4 big trucks.
4 big trucks. Do the contractors get their salt? Do we have any contractors that also push and
We have
spread?
no outside contract.
Okay, Raytown, this is your baby, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Do or die.
All right. You're doing a good job, by the way.
Thank
I'm just
you.
going to let you guys know that. I think you've answered all my questions. Are you guys getting your salt? One more question. Are you guys, your supplier, are you going through Cargill out of Louisiana, or are you going out of Central Salt or Broken Arrow out of Utah? Where are you guys getting your salt from?
Generally, we get our salt from Hutchinson or
From Hudson?
or Kannapolis, yeah.
Okay, and their price has been pretty good, so you guys want to jump on this thing in spring to get the supply at the price low.
That's correct.
That's what this is all about, isn't it? Spring forward, fall back.
Not only on getting it at a lower price, but also making sure we have a supplier.
Yeah.
Because once it comes around the 1st of November, nobody will sell it to us at any price because they just don't have it.
It's gone. So the 1,800 is the minimum that we would like to have on hand when winter comes our way, is what you're saying.
Our salt barn will hold about 1,600.
About 1,600 ton?
Yep, and we'd
Okay.
like to have it full at the start of the season.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did we misjudge last year's necessary salt usage? If so, why? Why was it off that much? Isn't it normally based on what we've historically had to use? And I know that, winter conditions are going to change, the numbers of snows, the numbers of, the amount of freezing rain, all that. I understand that, but what happened?
We were not able to bid the salt early enough to get the price as we're trying to do this year, and we could not obtain any of the salt to fill the barn. We started out with about 800 or 900 ton instead of 1,600, and had to buy more in order to keep up with it, because we did use at least an average year or a little more. Fortunately, we didn't have any deep ice to worry about. We just had small snows, but they still had to be treated.
Is the $90,000 in addition to what has been budgeted, or is that a total amount budgeted for this year? What is that exactly?
That's paying for the salt that we bought from Kansas City in addition to what we had stored. And it's also paying for enough to fill the barn again.
So the additional amount that we needed at the end of the winter season, that's paying for that and to fill the barn
Correct.
in preparation for next winter, right? And I certainly, what Mr. Moore, I believe was, said relative to the job that your crews do, it's tremendous. And I get comments from a lot of not only citizens, but people from out of town quite often, noticing the good job that we do. And so I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Our crews appreciate the fact that you said it too.
Jason Green, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, yeah, I mean, like Alderman Van Buskirk, Alderman Moore said, you guys do a great job. Believe it or not, I have another brother who used to live in Raytown, who lives in Lee Summit, and he constantly brags to his Lee Summit friends about how great the crews are out here. You know, he drives into work on 350 Highway, and I know he comes down, that's a state deal, but he comes down Raytown Road and stuff, and when it's bad out, you know, to come visit and things like that. And he says it's night and day difference from his neighborhood in Lee Summit to here. So I'll let you guys know that it's a great job. With that, I'd like to, there's not a motion on the floor, is there yet, to approve?
Not yet.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Teeman beat you to that. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
And for everyone's information, and I know these gentlemen know what they're doing, just for the board's information and the folks out there, my math gets us that it takes 1 ton of salt only goes 7 miles with a low spread rate. So we got 331 miles. They do 23 drops. That's a lot of salt. So I wouldn't want to be in your shoes because I know it's a hard job. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Motion carries. I'll ask the clerk to read item number 6, please.
a resolution authorizing and approving the purchase of fuel from Mulher Oil Company within budgeted amounts for fiscal year 2014-2015 off the City of Olathe, Kansas Cooperative Purchase Contract.
Any discussion? Mr. Melvin, do you have anything to add to this?
Just one item, we historically have purchased from the contract with Kansas City, Missouri, and that has been the Maher Oil Company. In this case, the price that was tendered for the Kansas City, Missouri contract is slightly more than what the Olathe contract would be. Both are co-op contracts, so we can tag on to those. We save about 3 cents a gallon, which doesn't sound like a lot, but look at what it does for us. It's a significant amount. That's all.
Ms. Black.
Thank you. Is Kansas, is that the only avenue we can go with that? Is there any other way we could keep it within our state other than Kansas City?
There probably are a number of other contracts. We've looked into Lee Summit in the past, and also with Blue Springs. Kansas is just the most advantageous for us this particular year. Usually Kansas City, Missouri is, but in this case, Olathe is a little better.
So what is the price difference? Just 3 cents between Missouri and Kansas?
Yeah, the Maher Oil Company actually is a Missouri company. They were the successful bidder on the Olathe contract.
Okay.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You guys are going through it. Well, the larger the contract, the cheaper the price we're going to get anyway on the spot market. That's what we're looking for through Olathe? Or do you guys try to combine with other cities to buy into the bulk arena? I mean, we're going to get it cheaper if you buy 30,000 gallons versus 15 gallons, right? So Mayor, you guys have been with Mayor, the markup, Olathe margin is 6 cents, which you've already saved 8,000. I see that right there. Just going through that contract through the Olathe side, right, on that?
That's correct.
And my question, I guess, too, is all fuel that's dispersed, is the fuel holding facility at Public Works diesel and regular RBO gasoline on the unleaded
Yes,
side?
we have both products, both diesel and regular gasoline.
And is that where the police force also fuels?
Yes,
Everybody just goes to you. You're the Flying J.
yes, sir.
Okay.
If you will.
Okay. Now, does Parks Department have, do they have their own fuel pumps, or everybody goes there? Everybody Flying J, we're going to.
All of the city-owned vehicles fuel at the 6417 railroad.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is, I mean, we have gone through a lot of fuel. Does anybody monitor that pump usage? Who has access to it, et cetera?
Yes, you have to have a fuel card to get access to the fuel, whether it be diesel or gasoline.
Okay. And I think that they're back on Alderman Black's remark about different suppliers. I mean, you guys have already checked through ConocoPhillips, Valero, et cetera, because you're going to probably get the cheapest price at the time you need the fuel, whether they have that fuel or not anyway. I mean, but if you enter in a contract with Olathe, I mean, the margin to me looks pretty good. So we're buying in bulk, and that's what they're counting on through you guys too, because you're running through 55,000 of regular, 55,000 gallons of regular fuel. Versus, I don't know, Olathe probably burns 250,000. I mean, they're pretty big town.
I don't know what their quantity is, but it's considerably more than ours.
Okay.
And Kansas City, Missouri is even more than that.
Yeah. And they're still going to make a few cents off of us anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Correct.
As long as they carry it here and they drop it for us.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'll just let you guys know that I did some math on all the mileage. I'll be quick here. Looks like Raytown drives about 1.5 to 1.75 million miles a year. Kind of boggles your mind. We've only got 10 square miles, so that's a lot of trips back and forth, about 60 or 70,000. But I appreciate you guys looking and finding us a savings for $8,000. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion? Ms. Black?
A motion.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Emerson? Call the roll, please.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
And motion carries. Will clerk please read item number 7?
a resolution authorizing and approving the purchase of equipment from KC Bobcat utilizing the State of Missouri contract in an amount not to exceed $27,941.17 for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Mr. Melvin, do you have any additional information on this item? Any discussion? Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen, I'm reading the analysis on the green page. You've got a 205 S220. You've got 1,500 hours on that unit. That loader, you state that repair costs to date have been $35,758. What have you spent the most on repair? Is it tires? What's going on? I know tires are very expensive on that tractor.
It's a combination of tires and electronics. That was an early electronic over hydraulic machine, and it has experienced a lot of failures of control modules And they get out of warranty and they fail yet again. And the control module controls the lifting of the boom arms, which makes it a safety hazard. So,
How many sets of tires have you guys run through in 1,500 hours?
when we mill, and that machine is primarily used for milling pavement, it's not uncommon to go through a set of tires every 2 or 3 weeks during the summertime.
You guys are burning through that many sets of tires?
Absolutely. When you're on pavement and running a cold plane, it's a tremendous amount of abuse on the tire.
Now, you guys are purchasing replacement rubber through Bobcat itself, or have you gone to other suppliers? You've got Radmeister, et cetera, the no flats.
We went them all. We've done them all.
Have you tried all of them?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all running about the same. They're giving you they're giving you the same amount of time.
Our latest version is giving us the best, and they came from Bobcat. So there's been an evolution in rubber in the tire industry when it comes to skid loader tires. And we've had to give up some in traction and off-road use to get a longer wear in asphalt use. But the latest, like I say, the latest generation of tires we use on those are about 2 years. They've been available to us, and it's cut our expense tremendously. But they're more expensive up front.
Okay, you've 1,500 hours at 10 years. You guys are running about 150 hours a year on that tractor.
That machine actually for the last 2 or 3 years hasn't got to be used much because of its electronics problem. We replaced a much older machine, and it's been getting the primary wear. And this is also going to give us a second mill to use on when we're grinding out street cuts.
That's part of the trade-in. The $35,000 in repair costs so far over 10 years. So would you say that 2/3 of that has been rubber tires for that tractor?
No, it's been other problems.
Been other problems?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've got, you said you're running through about 3 weeks, let's see, 3 weeks at 840, that's 240 hours. So every 240 hours, you're using up a set of tires into, let's say, 1,500. That's 7 sets of tires, maybe 8.
It's about 5 to 7 a year on the original as we led up to the latest generation.
Okay. Which was 2 years ago.
Right.
But let's go ahead and say you guys have purchased 7 sets of tires.
Oh, yes.
They're $550 a piece. So
Yes.
there's 22, 25 with tax and install. So we've got 7 at that. So that's close to 18,000 right there.
Right.
Just in rubber. The other maintenance costs, which to me, I can see replacing tires. It's cheaper than coming up with 30. I know you want 27.94 for a new tractor. What was the average cost to fix the hydraulics and the electronic board that was controlling that system?
It's about $1,200 every time it goes out.
And how many times has it gone out?
About 6 or 7.
Who's
That's just parts only. Our people are doing the work.
You guys are doing the install
Absolutely.
on that, on the maintenance on that. Who is supplying that equipment for you? Those replacement parts, and why isn't there a warranty on those?
There is a warranty on them, and it's about it's a 1-year warranty generally on parts. And Casey Bobcat is the only Bobcat vendor in the area for us.
Now the MT55, why was that purchased in the first place? I mean, that walk behind, it's okay to do a few things. It's like an electric wheelchair kind of thing. I'm just wondering because
I was not the one that purchased it.
I understand that.
It doesn't predate my employment, but it predates my position. And so my evaluation of it is we weren't using it. It's something that we should rent when we need. We should not own it. And the sooner we get out from under it and recover that investment, the better off the city is.
Okay.
That's my analysis of it.
Yeah, and there's only 200 hours on that, so that thing is pretty valuable.
Correct.
Because of the hours on it.
Correct.
To period. It's just about brand new.
Right.
Basically, unless you guys have scratched it a few times, but you can always touch the paint up for trade-in, maybe get a couple extra $1,000 for it, is what I'm hinting at.
We, in this purchase is trading this equipment back to Casey Bobcat for almost what we paid for it. With our government pricing structure, we pay less than the dealer pays for the equipment. And so when we trade it back to them, we get such a good value back out of it if we do it in a timely manner that it makes it a very inexpensive upgrade.
Okay, so the MT-55 doesn't even get used anyway. It's just sitting there. It's something collecting a space, and it's got to be run because that's when the motor and the work start to deteriorate, hydraulics, et cetera, rust cylinders. It's got to be run anyway, right? So
Right.
might as well just clean out the closet, is what you're telling us.
It's a net reduction in the fleet, yes.
Okay. Would you explain to the audience and the Board of Aldermen what the planer is for?
We use that to grind out asphalt when we make cuts to do repairs in streets. We also use it to level off rough areas in streets, but it's not really a very good instrument for that, but we have. You know, when you get little humps in a street, we're able to plane those humps, sort of flatten them out, but it is our primary instrument for grinding out bad spots of pavement.
Okay, so you basically you can take out washboard on that with that
You
unit.
can. It's not very effective, but you can.
Okay. But that's the highest price piece of equipment. You know that, I mean, we're looking at 10 plus the fast cut drum is that we're looking at 13,000 for that piece of equipment. What is the average on those hammers? How long do those last you?
The cutting teeth, if they're properly maintained, will last about 200 to 300 hours.
Hours?
Right, of use. We have had them last as much as 500 hours, but you have to be really diligent. If they ever stop turning, they wear out quickly. Wear them out in a day.
Just for information for the board in general, these type of milling machines, the Bobcat type milling, is used by most of the metro area public works departments. It's a very, very good tool to take out the asphalt as opposed to using a jackhammer and take it out.
Well, you know, yeah, I'll let someone else speak. Thank you very much.
Mr. Myers?
This would be considered above my pay grade as far as following Mr. Moore in regards to knowledge of heavy-duty equipment, but theoretically, I think you got a pretty nice piece of equipment in that MT-55. I gotta think, wouldn't Bobcat give you that amount of money if you put it on a trailer and walked it up there and said, we want to sell this? I would think.
They are in fact buying it from us. These are trade-in values that are listed in the RBA.
Right.
And they are paying us for that.
The piece would still be available. Let's say we backed out and we put $12,000 of cash in your department. Could you access that $12,000 to upgrade the loader, or what you're recommending to purchase? How far would $12,000 go to rehab that unit?
The S220?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that would need to happen is spend $8,000 to put air conditioning on it, which makes it unusable during the summertime when you're milling, because you can't breathe. Can't breathe and keep. That's one of the problems also with it. I should have mentioned that up front. Was my predecessors ordered it, saved $2,000 up front, and during the 100-degree heat, you have to have the windows closed and a mask on so you can breathe when you're creating that tremendous amount of dust running the mill, and you can't do it for very long. Our newer machines are all air conditioned with filtration on the cabs that make it to where when it's 100 degrees, we're still milling, and we're not putting people in danger.
So you already have a couple of those.
We have a smaller machine that's not capable of running the mill. We have one that is a high flow machine that can run the mill, and then this would be a second one. So there would be two high flow machines with mill.
Okay. It's an education process for some of us new ones. We haven't been down to your inventory, and even if I saw it, I'm not sure what I'm looking at in that regard. So, okay, thank you for your answer. I appreciate that.
Ms. Emerson?
On the quote, it shows through 4/30, 2015. Are they going to still honor that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore? What I'm trying to get into here is that I've got, you guys want new tractor, you want a new skid loader is what you want, with air conditioning and heating, newer electronics. I mean, anybody in the construction industry, even with these iPhone, iPad carriers, we know that dust and moisture is are the two biggest enemies, period. A cab, enclosed cab, doesn't stop dust, doesn't stop the moisture either. Drive through Arizona Southwest, anybody, I don't care, you know, you can wash your car 1,000 times, the inside's going to be dusty. So you're still going to have electronic issues, which is maintenance issues. Who's to say that you get that tractor in there, that skid loader fires up, you guys fire it up one time, get out there, do a little milling. Who's to say that electronics don't go out on it then, at that point? Still under warranty, of course. But we're talking about a piece of equipment you want to keep around for 10 or 15 years. Now we've got an air conditioning unit to worry about. Those things crack all the time. You know, you guys are running a Bobcat. This is a skid steer. It's going to get banged, jammed, and everything else. Air conditioning just doesn't hang very good on something like that. It's not like a Lincoln Continental driving down the highway. Now you got heat. So now we got to deal with the heater, fan blowers, et cetera, et cetera. You got twice as much equipment. That's my point, and I've got constituents that really don't appreciate that there's going to be, that I would allow $30 or $40 or $1,000 to have a new skid loader when you've got some equipment, and as Mr. Myers attested to, we would probably be happy to help you, give you a portion to get what you have fixed and used and running. And I understand the dust issue, but here's my deal with dust. If I'm going to break and load that skid loader up, and it takes 3 guys, 3-man crew, you got the truck, the trailer, the skid loader, it goes, and I've got to replace, because you guys don't do large stuff. You guys do patches, you know, maybe a 5x5, 8x8, maybe, probably that, I don't know if that's the largest or not, but there wouldn't be any dust if the patches are that size. You break out the jackhammer, bang, 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 there is no dust. Number 2, you got the sweeper. The sweeper throws from here to that wall. Not an issue to do that whatsoever. That creates dust for the entire community, all that neighborhood. And it doesn't sweep it into a pile. It throws it wherever you guys direct that broom to. So that means we got debris in the storm sewers, on the sidewalks, in people's lawns, et cetera, et cetera. Jackhammer, bang, 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 you pick up the chunks, you sweep around it. What I'm getting at is, possibly the milling doesn't need to be done all the time. There's certain issues, certain points in construction where you say, why break all that equipment out to do that? It doesn't make any sense. It's just like using a nail gun versus hand drives. Simpler for me to climb up a ladder 24 feet with a hand drive and an apron to set my nails, instead of trying to climb up with an air hose or one of those cartridge guns, you know, that weigh 14 pounds. So that's what I'm getting at. I suggest you guys think about that really, really hard. You know, enclosed equipment's fine, but it's got its problems too. There's going to be problems with it no matter what.
And we certainly realize that. The issue that we're looking at here is that we do a lot of braking with the jackhammer as well, depending on how large the patch is going to be. Unfortunately, our roads are in a condition where we don't just patch one patch here and go down the road a mile or two. We go down the road 10, 20 yards, sometimes 100 yards, but we're right in the same vicinity. And we normally don't use a broom on the job for that. We use a broom on some other things, but not necessarily for that. The reason that we need the cab on there is not so much to protect the equipment. That seems to be handling it all right. It's to protect the operator. The dust that the milling generates is a real health hazard for the operator unless he's wearing a mask, which deteriorates his performance as an operator. The heat certainly doesn't help either, but it's mainly to help filter the dust out of there. a cab is not going to prevent 100% of the dust, certainly, but it's going to knock it down to where the guy can at least breathe. So that's what we're really looking to do there. It's not a matter of trying to get more creature comforts for the guy. It's a matter of trying to make it so that it's safe for him.
Mr. Myers.
All right, again, an educational question. Would 1,500, and I understand, I guess that unit's been out of regular service for a couple of years, from what you said, is that correct? Okay. But based upon, let's say, 8 years, would 1,500 hours be, how would that grade in the usage world, especially for Raytown, I guess?
Historically, we have run the machines 10 to 14 years, and we have run them 2,500 to 3,500 hours. This particular machine has had so many electronics problems, and again, the electronics, the evolution of the electronics in this type of equipment has improved, but it hasn't been backwards compatible. So the components that fit this particular piece of equipment have never gotten any better. The next generations up have gotten better, and their control circuitry has gotten better, and the longevity of the control modules has gotten better. So no matter how many new parts we throw at this particular piece of equipment, the longevity of the part is the longevity of the part. It's not going to improve because the generational improvement of the electronics as opposed to the newer machine.
So it would have been in service more if it wasn't in the shop.
It would have been in service more, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Well,
it is
that's
absolutely a matter of there's no way to improve the electronics on it.
So we're just kind of throwing inevitable bad money towards the inevitable issues that have been prevalent since day one on it, for the most part.
That's correct.
Okay. Do they, and reason I analyzed the low hours on it was almost like a car where a lease candidate, you have to drive the car low miles to be a good lease candidate or option. Do they lease these units where you lease them for 2 years and they're fully under warranty and you give them back and you got bad electronics? Let's hope the new model has good electronics and you own this one and bring us the new one and the air conditioner works great, and if it breaks, do they lease these units?
They do lease the units, and they can be purchased through a lease purchase.
We want to give them back. We don't want to own them at the end. We want to use them as long as the warranty's good, and then when they start breaking, it's your baby. Bring us the new shiny one. I mean, do they lease them?
They do lease them, but there are some drawbacks that I'd have to talk to Joe about as far as why we can or cannot do that. Something that we have done on some larger pieces of equipment, for instance, our vacuum jetter truck, it's worth about $250,000 or more, and something like that, certainly you want to buy to spread out the payments. This one isn't that particularly large.
If we leased it, and stop me if my theory is in the wrong direction, but if we leased it, we got $12,000 of commodity in the walk-behind. This unit is worth obviously some dollars. You've already expressed that. Would that just be returned to us in cash versus whatever down payment they need toward? I mean, would we get liquid with turning in those two pieces of equipment and have an option purchase that's going to keep us in something that's got warranty for a couple years?
It's not likely that we would be able to do that because we can't, unless we do it as a trade-in, which they normally don't do on a lease purchase. We would have to sell it at auction. We might do better, we might not do as well.
So Bobcat doesn't, after all the years of working with those folks, if we just wanted a different way to pay for it, they shut down the trade-in bus on us? They just, no sale?
As a trade-in, unless we're buying something from them, they would not normally do that, no.
Aren't we buying something from them? It's just the lease company giving them the check?
I'm not sure the exact mechanism on that. Haven't done that for a very long time myself, and I'm not sure how the lease purchase actually works, but I know it has been done. Normally, it's done on things that are a lot more high-dollar items.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion here that, based upon my lack of information in that regard. It looks like you could maybe touch base with some folks and give us some more information.
Good.
Can we table this? Maybe you look into a lease option. We get an opportunity to put some eyeballs on it and educate ourselves and see if that might be a valuable solution to the equipment. We want you to get the equipment, I think. You've justified that 10 years later we need some new equipment. I'm just looking at some opportunities to maybe put some cash in your department, back on the streets, pave some streets, you know, all the things that are good for our community, and get your piece of equipment and just put some eyeballs on it. So I would make a motion, we table that. Okay, newbie here. Postpone is the direction we need to do that for a meeting to a later date. No, I don't need to know what date. What date would you like to bring that back?
I would think we could have something ready for you by June 2nd.
Okay, that's very agreeable. Table to a date certain, June 2nd.
I believe that's the correct date.
Okay, thank you.
Favor second on the postponement?
Yeah. Alderman Myers, my apologies, but I've just been reminded that I actually wouldn't have 2 weeks for that. I would actually only have about 3 days, so I probably can't get it ready that quick. So it'd have to be the second meeting in June.
Make a motion that we table that to second meeting in June. Postpone, I've been, man,
Mr. Moore has a second on that.
Oh.
It's tabled.
I'm sorry?
It'll be tabled to a date certain of,
Okay, so we'll be able to take, okay. You vote on that, or first, second's good enough? Vote on it? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Pass.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes?
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Motion passes. Will the clerk please read item number 8?
a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Raytown Animal Hospital, Inc. for veterinary services associated with animal control in excess of $15,000, but within budgeted amounts for fiscal year 2014-2000. I'm doing what? So you would like me to read?
7.
No.
Say again? We're having really a hard time hearing you, Teresa.
That's okay, Joe. It's fine. A resolution authorizing and approving the expenditure of funds to Fuel Conversion Solutions LLC related to the 2015 fuel conversion project, an amount not to exceed $35,000.
Mr. Melvin, can you give us some additional information on this, please?
This particular item has been before the Sales Tax Oversight Committee and was approved by that committee with the provision that we put in the request for board action, some information about the life of the vehicle, the payback time, and so on. And at the prices of fuel today, we are looking between a 10 and 12 year payback. but at the prices they were when we converted the vehicles last year, we were looking at about a 5-year payback. Prices have dropped considerably. Now they're coming back up, but we aren't, they're not that high as yet. But it does help. The more vehicles we have converted, it does spread out the load for paying for the fueling system that we have to dispense fuel to all of the vehicles that have been converted. That's all I have to add.
Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was board liaison to the Sales Tax Oversight Committee, and that's something certainly that they wanted to, they did approve that this go on to us with a recommendation to do it, but they wanted to make sure that we understood their concerns, which you basically expressed, the fact that fuel prices have changed drastically, and so is this really going to be, viable or not? Is it going to be something that is going to pay for us in the long run? How many vehicles do we currently have that are converted?
3 vehicles at this time.
Okay. And what type of problems have we had, if any, related to those that have been converted?
We have had some small issues with when you run them on the propane, cold starts and that sort of thing, but nothing of any significance.
Are these just kind of problems we had to iron out because they, something
Yes.
new? And now we're storing our own propane now, is that correct?
We are. We rent a tank and a dispenser from Ferrogas, and the cost of installing that is part of the payback figures that we've looked into. Converting it has other benefits besides just trying to pay itself back. It's a much cleaner fuel for the environment as well, and that's something that has to be taken into account, even though it can't be quantified as to how much it's saving you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Jim, I'm back. I'm coming at you like a chicken, like you're a cabbage hanging on a string, okay?
Not a problem.
You guys have a fuel station for the propane? Are you carrying a 250-gallon tank, 500-gallon tank over here, and where are you getting the propane for these 3 vehicles that are already LPGs?
We're getting it from Ferrogas, and they have a tank that we keep on site at our shop.
Okay, so Ferrogas supplies they drop the tank for you guys so that you can tank.
Correct.
Fill your tank up. Okay, and you're paying retail through that. You're not doing this isn't a wholesale price.
I believe it is a wholesale price.
You're getting a wholesale price because the spot contract stopped at 55 cents a gallon Monday, I believe. You guys aren't paying 55 cents. You're paying retail at $1.85 a gallon, aren't you?
It's about $1.30 is what it costs
You're
us.
getting about $1.30.
Yeah.
The reason I ask you is because the retail price spot yesterday was also at $1.83 a gallon. That's why I'm just wondering. You guys don't really. I can see if you had 50,000-gallon tank where they would actually cut you that's a pretty big spread to me, from $1.30 to $1.82. And you guys carry a 500-gallon tank probably or something?
It's about a 500-gallon tank.
So I don't know because I don't know your books, but I'm gonna say that you guys are getting retail, which is $1.80 something a gallon. My question is this also: is you guys want to convert four more vehicles?
Correct.
And those are used vehicles. Could you give us how many miles are on each vehicle?
I don't know the mileage, but one of them is a 2013, one 2014, one 2012, and one 2015.
Okay, so the average miles would probably be, a city worker drives quite a few miles. We saw that from the fuel usage tonight. Probably 50,000 miles a year, 40,000?
Probably between 40 and 50, yes.
Okay, so a 2-year vehicle's already got 75, 80,000, and those are gas burners, right? They run on lead fuel
They would be gasoline engines, yes.
at this point in time, right? So the life of a gasoline engine, well, whether it's liquid propane or whether it's gasoline, 150,000, if you maintain it correctly, right? So half the motor life is already gone on these vehicles, basically, if you think about it. Okay, the conversion price is pretty high. We want, we're looking at 35,000 to convert, I believe. If I'm wrong, you can correct me.
It's for all 4 vehicles, correct?
Yeah. Now, this is another issue I have with liquid propane conversions, and I've been involved with I was involved with some of that stuff over there in Europe. It never worked. The vehicles ran. That wasn't the issue. The issue was this: the BTUs on the liquid propane are 3/4 of what a gallon of gasoline produces. So in order for a gallon of propane to produce the same amount of energy to move that object, you need 1/4 more gallon of propane. So you're still buying 1.25 gallons of propane to produce the same energy to move that vehicle as 1 gallon of gasoline. So gasoline's at $2.32. The national average for propane right now in Missouri is well, like I said, in Missouri the retail's at $1.82. So if you got to buy 1/4 of a gallon, maybe a little bit more, that's another 40 cents. So we're looking at $2.10, $2.20 a gallon still for liquid propane versus $2.32 for gasoline. So you're still burning the same amount of fuel or more liquid propane to move that truck.
There are some newer technologies on that, and we haven't found so far that we're burning that extra 1/4 gallon. We're getting about the same gas mileage with the propane as we are with gasoline.
Jim, I understand your argument there, but I will ask everybody here who hasn't burned that ethanol fuel and noticed that you can't even go up a frickin' hill with it. Okay, and your gauge goes like this. Yeah, you saved $8 at the gas pump, but guess what? You got 100 miles less. So you had to stop again, and there it is, the same old ethanol, 85% or whatever they're selling. So the energy produced is what I'm pointing out.
I understand.
Because it takes more propane to produce the same amount of energy as gasoline. It takes more of it, so you're gonna have to buy more of it. And for everybody's information, a gallon of propane produces about 84,000 BTUs. A gallon of gas is 115,000 BTUs. You've got to jump that, so that's another 1/4 gallon. That's a big issue that I have with doing the conversion rates. And now that you brought up the vehicles, half-life, they're already half-life. Why would we want to convert vehicles that aren't going to give us our 10 or 12 years? I'm all for protecting the environment. That's understandable.
With the prices we have right at the moment, it definitely is a questionable venture.
It is, because the RBOB spot price of gasoline has continued to go up. And I will say this, propane in 2014, do you know what the spot contract number was on that, on the high on down in 2014?
No.
$3.99 for liquid propane, a gallon. So it's one of these, it's hey, baby needs new shoes, give me 7s. That's what I'm saying to you guys with this conversion stuff. I wish the whole world was converted and we could do that. That'd be fantastic, but we can't. And right now, it's funding is what I'm getting at for those monies. Me personally, I just don't believe in the LPG unless you're camping, honestly. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Josh Green. Mr. Teeman.
Does this in any way extend the life of the vehicle? I mean, he's talking, like you said, that we're already half-life on these vehicles. Do these conversions in any way or could it possibly shorten the life of them? Because I've heard, it may not be propane, it may be, liquid natural gas conversions or something that I read on, but it actually shortened the life of the vehicle. So is that a possibility?
I can't say it's not a possibility, but it's nothing that we have encountered in our research so far. Whether it's, at this point, whether it's worthwhile doing or not, I can't say that it doubtlessly is. It's not a certain thing. With the way that the prices of gas are going right now, and at the time when we did the research back a couple of years ago, we were going to be saving about $2 a gallon.
Right.
Well, yeah, in about 5 or 6 years, you can pay that back and you're in good shape. Is it going to get back up there? Well, I tend to think it will because it's headed back up already, but, you know,
We're
I'm no
still,
more of a
we're still sitting on a glut of oil, though, too, in this country
Exactly.
that hasn't been flushed out through the markets yet,
Exactly.
and they're laying off oil workers because we have so much oil we can't sell it all.
Yep.
So I tend to think that we're just as likely to see another plummet to $1.85 as we are to see it jump up to $3 a gallon again.
Yep.
And with that being, in my mind, every bit a possibility, at what point, you know, because like you said, the payoff date's 10 to 12 years on a vehicle that we're saying has only got 12 years left on it anyway. At what point in time does that bump up to 15 to 20 years if gas prices fall back down to $2 or $1.85?
It wouldn't get any worse than about 10 to 12 years because that's about the worst. Excuse me, the worst situation that we have analyzed so far. Certainly, it's not desirable.
Sure.
We're basically banking on the fact that the gas prices will go back up again, but we don't know that.
Is this something we could, while we wait to see what gas prices even think about doing? I mean, since it's kind of up in the air, I mean, it's not something we could just like not do again, or maybe when we go look to buy new equipment for new trucks that we say, hey, let's buy ones that are already able to do this?
If that's available, we certainly could look at it. I wouldn't have any problem if the board decided tonight not to approve this, so long as we carry the money forward next year so that it's still possible that we can make conversions if it becomes more advantageous.
Thank you.
Karen Black.
Thank you. Mr. Melvin, is this common practice in the metropolitan area? I mean, does everybody want to convert their vehicles to propane, or is this?
There are a couple of others. I couldn't give you a name, but I know that there are at least a couple of other agencies that have, not across the board, not the whole fleet. But it is something that other agencies have looked at, certainly.
And have they noticed better, I don't know.
Better economy in the fuel?
Yes.
I couldn't tell you. I haven't heard any results back from them. None of us have any long history on using this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Myers?
Jim, I noticed you got some vehicles that still are pretty late model. Would any of those still be under factory warranty, and would a conversion like this affect a factory warranty on any of those?
It would not on the two late models because they both have the factory kit that enables them to be converted.
Oh, I see. Okay. And the others are out of warranty, probably due to mileage?
Yes,
I
sir,
would
they
assume.
are.
Okay. Thank you.
Jason Green.
Well, and I'm going to reiterate, you answered some things I was going to bring up. You brought up in another alderman's response. I believe it was maybe Mr. Tiemans. So literally what we're looking at, and just again to summarize and emphasize this, is we're trying to see which bet is right. We're trying to hedge our bet on if we do this, that gasoline is going to be more expensive in the future, which I can make a great argument for why it will be due to inflationary pressures and things such as that. But I'm not going to go there. That's a whole other federal issue. I would like to say this, though, to the board, and you hinted on this too exactly. If we choose not to go through with this commitment, I think the money, we need to find a way to make sure that money is still committed to this next year. And I don't know if that's something that we can put into this at this juncture, or is that something that we just would just have to remind ourselves for? I guess that's maybe a question.
Yeah, that would just be something that would happen during the budget process.
Okay.
You can't really commit to that right now.
Yeah.
During the budget process.
So I'd hate to see money being taken from this and obviously potentially save us money if we could use this down the road, which, and honestly, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I do see gasoline prices increasing. more dramatically than others would think, but that's just my personal opinion on that. At any rate, thank you for the clarification.
Ms. Emerson.
I make a motion that we table this.
I'd second that.
Call the roll, please.
Alderman Emerson?
Oh.
Discussion?
Sorry, we already had some, but okay, go ahead. Whoever, yours light's on first, Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you. This would be discussion on the motion to table. So this is not table a date certain of any time, it's just permanently tabled, right? Mr. Lawfrey, how would that affect things if, let's say, for instance, in 6 months, we see gasoline prices jumping up, and we want to make these conversions at that time? How would that affect this?
In 6 months, we'd be in a new budget year. So during the current budget cycle, this next budget cycle, you just have to allocate those funds again, so they'd be available. And then as far as bringing it off the table, that can occur at any board meeting.
So it could be rebudgeted in the new budget year, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Melvin, you would not have a problem with delaying those conversions. Is that correct?
That's correct. It certainly would not bother me at all.
Okay.
It is a real chancy thing at this point.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Josh Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, concerning the motion, I think it would actually be a pretty solid idea to kind of see where gas goes in a bit. That being said, I will say that the 2 cents that I had on this conversation was, I think that if at a future venture we do this, I think that we need to limit it to the 2 newest models on this list, at least if we bring this specific one back up, because if the average life of our vehicles, it's saying here, is 12 years, and it sounds like it might even be less at that point, it'd just probably be a better investment to not invest in those 2 older vehicles. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Mr. Tiemann.
They mentioned that we'd have to reallocate the funds for these conversions into next year's budget. Are there conversions that are projected to already be taking place next year? Like, are there 4 more vehicles for next year to be converted that we're not discussing at this point in time?
We haven't even picked any candidates for next year, not knowing at this point whether there's any money at all. So we.
Okay, but but this was stated as kind of like an ongoing plan, these conversions. So this is something that we're going to be discussing with a whole nother lot of. I guess what I'm getting at is when we go to the budgeting process, we're talking about $35,000 here. So coming into this next budgetary round or whatever it's called, when we get there, are we looking at 70 grand so that we can have 8 vehicles, or are we looking at just, okay, well, next time we're just going to stick with 4 vehicles when we get
Normally, we would plan on 3 to 4 vehicles a year. We wouldn't double it up on any given year.
Okay.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Adrian.
My question is a point of order for Joe. Could you explain the difference between the 2 terms we've used in the past to carry an item over versus table it?
This motion to table, which is probably what this discussion should be directed at, would place this matter on the table, and it would not automatically come back up then until some member of the body would move to remove it from the table.
Right.
The motion that you did previously tonight to a date certain assured that it would come back with any further board action on the date you moved it to. That would be the distinction in the two. And right now, really the discussion shouldn't be on the merits of the motion. It just should be whether or not you're going to go ahead and table this now.
Right. And I understood that. So in the future, when we want to bring it back automatically, like in 2 weeks or two meetings, we would say carried over to this date.
Well, if you knew you wanted to bring it back up, it seemed to this one you wanted to wait and see the budgeting process, and so the tabling motion seemed appropriate because there's not a date certain we need that you seem to know of right now.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Moore?
I kind of agree, and then let's mirror off what Josh said. I mean, the newer vehicles I can understand, and actually let's bounce off of what Mr. Meyer said about the skid loader. Maybe there's a possibility of starting to lease vehicles. That way, it's the supplier's nickel, and they're already converted to LNG. We don't have to go through this process. It's a clean deal. Here's the keys. Bada boom, bada bang, type thing. But let's concern ourselves with the price of LNG as winter approaches. We all know that gasoline is played on the futures market, and the NYMEX doesn't play games very nice. We all know that. They can scalp us for 40 cents in one day. You've seen it at the pump. Tomorrow it's $2.89. They only drop it a nickel at a time, but they'll jack it 40 cents. And that's the same with the liquid petroleum products too. They'll do the same thing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to table?
We do. And a second.
Second.
And a second.
All right, call the roll.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Moore, Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskert,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Motion carries. I would ask the clerk to read item number 9, please.
a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Raytown Animal Hospital, Inc. for veterinary services associated with animal control in excess of $15,000, but within budget amounts for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Mr. Benson? Oh, Ray, I'm sorry.
My name is Ray Haydaripour, Neighborhood Services Supervisor. We send out several bid packets to vet services within the city of Raytown. Received only one bid, Raytown Animal Hospital. The option is having a contract for 2 years and have the city have the option of extending one-time 2-year contract.
First, I'd like to say that Raytown Animal Hospital does a very good job in taking care of the animals. I just have one question. Where's it, Charlotte? It says animal control officers respond to service requests 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is not true. Did you know that?
Could you ask the question one more time?
Pardon me?
Can you ask the question one more time?
I said it states in here that animal control officers respond to service requests 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, 365 days per year. And I said that is not true. Did you know that?
Emergency calls, we respond yes.
No. No, sir. I have personally called on weekends for emergencies, and police officers say there's nothing that they can do and they don't contact animal control. So having said that, are we being charged by Raytown Animal Hospital for weekend hours?
No.
Okay.
If we impound an animal and the code requires us to hold the animal for 10 days.
Correct.
During that 10 days, yes, we pay the services for the 10. Now, on the emergency calls, just to clarify that as far as what kind of calls we respond for emergency calls, which is basically a dog bite, injured animal, an aggressive dog attack, which some people consider barking dog an aggressive dog, and some people consider just a barking dog. So we get the information, we contact the complainant, we try to find out as much as information we can in order for us to be able to respond to an efficient call. Just because a dog running at large and barking, we don't consider that aggressive dog.
I have an example. Just last summer, we had a dog running through backyards, aggressively barking and chasing at people and charging them. Animal control, and it was on a Saturday, and animal control would not come out. So I guess, what is your clarification of a true emergency then on an aggressive dog?
We contact the complainant and we try to get as much as information we can in order for us to respond. If we receive information the dog is just barking at me, I'm scared, then yes, we don't respond to those kind of calls. But if we get a call, dog is charging at me, growling and showing teeth, then yes. And cornered me in a garage or a fence yard, in my yard, then yes, we do respond to those.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Van Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, who makes a determination whether you're called out or not? Is that the police department? Because on a weekend, it's going to go to the police department, right?
Evenings and weekends, yes.
And do they make the determination then?
They, most of the time, they do make a determination to call us, yes.
And they would call you if they feel it's warranted. Is that the way it works?
That's correct.
How often have you responded on weekends? Does that happen very often?
Almost every weekend.
I'm sorry, what?
Almost every weekend.
Okay, because certainly the animals don't take the weekends off, but like some of us do. I do have a question about the 10% from original unit bid price. But on back on the last page of this, just says bidders are to state if prices are firm, and if no, please indicate percentage of increase for the 2-year renewal period of 10%. Is that, explain that to us, would you?
Which page we're at?
Of our packet, it'd be on the very last page.
Just for the renewal contract, that we get the 10% increase, or they have the option of increasing the prices by 10%.
Okay, that's applicable now, since we're renewing our contract with them. We've had a contract with them, right? So that's not applicable now. It would be if we renew the contract in 2 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Jason Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, Ray, I just want to say, hey, thanks for all the help you've done. I've emailed you with things, and you've been really good at getting back with me and communicating with me. I just want to let you know I appreciate that very much. We're on item number 9, right? Just to clarify. Okay, so that was veterinary services. Now, I do have some questions about the boarding services, but I'm going to reserve those for item number 10. And Mr. Van Buskirk went on the effect of the question I had, is that we were with Raytown Animal Hospital for veterinary services previously as well, right? And they've consistently been the only bidder, or only one to bid on that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So with item number 9 in question, that's for the veterinary services. I'm going to make a motion to approve. I will have some questions on item number 10, but anyway, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Josh Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ray, first of all, I think everybody up here has emailed you at some point, and you've gotten back to us. I want to thank you for that. I will echo, though, off of Alderman Black's comment. I actually, I was not personally involved in this, but I actually have a friend that was involved in this situation where there was a dead dog in the middle of 350 highway, and an officer told them when they called into that basically there was nothing that animal control could do till Monday. So I just don't know where the confusion is, but if somewhere along the line, I don't know if you guys have talked police or if someone's not being trained right or something like that. That being said, if we could just find some way to streamline that process so that way people can get those emergency services over the weekend, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Ooh. Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Motion carries. Can I have the clerk read item number 10, please?
a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Raytown Animal Hospital, Inc. for animal boarding services associated with animal control in excess of $15,000, but within budgeted amounts for fiscal year 2014-2015.
Again, we send out bids to several entities within the city of Raytown for boarding services. We want to receive one, which is Raytown Animal Hospital. And 1 2-year agreement with the option of doing 1 2-year extended option.
Any discussion, Mr. Green?
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. Karen, Ms. Black made a comment about her and I, we spoke about that here, about how on the weekends there wasn't access to boarding. There was a situation in which I got a call from a constituent, and that there was a dog, I guess a stray, if you will, and I guess to make a long story short, I don't want to get into some story, but I guess he put it in his backyard for safekeeping and tried calling animal control and couldn't get a hold of anyone. Called the Raytown Animal Hospital. It was on a weekend. Couldn't get a hold of anyone. I went ahead and called the police department, just the non-emergency, just to see what they would suggest. And the idea was like, look, you have to wait till Monday. So when I saw that on the reading on the packet, and I don't know if Raytown Animal Hospital presented that and said, here's the information, 365, we're there 24. That's a little misleading. Because I know on the weekends that's not the case. Now I don't know exactly what we need to do, and I don't know I doubt we're going to solve that tonight on trying to provide that, because we do need to have a viable boarding situation for not veterinary services, but a situation for strays and things on the weekends. I know City Hall shuts down on the weekends, except for the police department because they're 24/7, but EMS and fire and all them, but the people here don't. And I really had instructed this gentleman. I didn't know what to do to them. I told him, he could always take the animal to somewhere else, some other shelter and things like that. But this gentleman didn't feel comfortable doing that, and so he ended up letting the stray go and wander again. And so I don't know if this is something, maybe a question, John, or something we can look at some point. And again, this ain't necessarily a question, John. I guess it's more something that maybe we should try to find a way to do this, or if we need to include that more concertedly with Raytown Animal Hospital. Because when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's not the case, and I know that for a fact.
We can definitely, as Ray explained, there's certain things that after hours, after 5 p.m. and on weekends, or between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m., our animal control officers will go out. So that's the 365, 24 hours a day. That doesn't mean we provide the same level of service 365, 24 hours a day. We only, in overtime or after 5 and before 8 a.m. and on weekends, there's certain things will come out, dog bites, injured animals, things like that. But that on animals running at large that are non-aggressive, we don't send out our animal control officers because we do that on the daytime, and I can tell you right now, it's less than 50% of the time when they're in the office or wherever in the city, they get a call to go find a dog who's running at large. By the time they get there, the dog's gone. And so on a weekend, it would even be a much lower percentage of catching a dog running at large. In the example you just gave, we can look at doing that. It will be a budgetary impact because our overtime rates will increase. So it's just a matter of us needing to budget more funding than for overtime for our animal control officers.
I understand that component of it. I guess the issue I have is that I was kind of astonished that literally there was no access to animal control on the weekends. And I mean, that's literally what the situation, and this was this was during the day. I mean, I literally called, I can't tell you how many people I called for this guy. And this happened, months ago, but regardless, that's neither here nor there. At this very moment, that particular situation, I just, when I saw that in the packet, I was like, and I understand you saying that's animal control for our end, but.
Right, and it doesn't increase the cost. That's in the packet because if we do, an animal control officer does come in on the weekend or at night, they need access they pick up say a dog or a cat, whatever it may be. They need access into the veterinary clinic at whatever time of the day it is. And so that's just to let them know it's not, we don't want to pick an animal up at night and then we call the vet and they're like, sorry, hold on to it till 8 o'clock and we'll get there. And especially if it's injured or something like that.
I understand that, but for this particular situation, this was like in the afternoon, it was a Saturday afternoon, I think.
I do know, and this was before I was department director, the city with animal control, probably 8 to 10 years ago, did stagger the hours of our animal control officers. Some came in at 8 o'clock in the morning and worked till 5. Some came in later in the day and worked, I believe it was till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And if I remember correctly, we had an animal control officer also that worked on a Saturday, or at least part of the day. What we found out was there just wasn't the number of calls after hours and on weekends to justify having somebody here full time as regular 8-hour shift or something like that. They were just there just wasn't the demand for it that we thought it was. So we could look at doing something like that, or as I mentioned, look at our overtime
like a staggered
budget.
thing. Yeah, like somebody coming in, and this may bring me to another policy issue because I think this is, if I'm recalling the situation correctly, there was an issue I had with it. You mentioned staggered in that you can have somebody come in for 2 hours on Saturday morning, and so if there is an issue, and 2 hours on Sunday, whatever. So if there's an issue on Saturday, that it could be resolved on Sunday. If that was the case, if and I'll give you the scenario again. And this gentleman found a stray animal, and he housed it in his backyard. And if somebody could maybe pick that up the next day, if that was a Saturday, on the next day, animal control, hey, guess what? You're here Sunday, so I can get you to come pick up this animal. However, and this may be another question for another time, and you can clarify it for another time if you wish. Okay. I believe I was told that it's something to do with city hall policy or city policy that if the gentleman took the animal, the stray, that we can't pick it up. Is that necessarily true? I remember something to the effect of.
No, if we'll pick it up if they hold it.
Okay.
And I'll let Ray clarify or add more. If we've run into instances where there's a dog, or typically it's a cat, that just roams a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nobody calls it in, nobody lets us know about it, and somebody feeds it, but they claim, well, it's not my cat, but I put out milk. I feel sorry for it, I don't want it to die, so I put out some food and water or whatever for it. That becomes their cat after a certain point because they're providing care for it.
Because you feed the cat.
So
don't feed the cat.
That's a fine line, but at a certain point, they're taking responsibility for the cat.
Find their own food, or it's your animal.
Right.
Anyway, I think though that would be, in all seriousness, I think that would be a something to consider. And again, not like an all-day shift, but at least know, hey, guess what? It's Saturday afternoon. Our animal control guy is gone, but he's going to be in on Sunday from 8 to 10 or whatever, or 12 to 2, and he can have an email or a call. He can come by from 12 to 2 on that day and pick it up. I don't know what the answer is on that. I just think that's it's a solid idea. So anyway, Ray and John, I really appreciate your guys' time and this.
Another option is Raytown Animal Clinic, even though we don't have animal control officers working except for the occasions I mentioned on the weekends. Raytown Animal Hospital is open on Saturday mornings just as their normal business hours. If somebody picks up a stray on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, they can take it in to Raytown Animal Hospital, and they'll put it or impound it, and then we'll follow up with them on Monday morning.
So they can physically take that in and say, hey, I have this stray.
But I don't know the exact hours, but I think they close like at noon on Saturday.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I know that's solely Saturday afternoon through to
Still,
Sunday.
it's
but
good information to know.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All right, do I hear a motion? Mr. Moore, motion? Yes. Second? Who was that? Josh? All right, please call the roll.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
All right, motion passes. I ask the clerk to please read item number 11.
a resolution authorizing and approving an agreement with K&S Associates for mowing and nuisance abatement services in the city of Raytown, Missouri, utilizing the City of Independence, Missouri Cooperative Purchase Contract.
In the past few months, we had some issues with our nuisance contractor as far as performing the job to our satisfaction, doing any work at all. So we are in the process of terminating the contract with them. And we have talked to the contractor K&S, which they're doing the work with the City of Independence. And they are willing to do the work for us as far as the mowing the tall grass and weeds, removing junk, trash, and debris, and doing nuisance contract work.
Ms. Black?
We're gonna go for bids, hopefully within next few months for the next new year budget, and see what kind of work they're gonna do for us. It's basically like a trial, they're on trial with them. And hopefully if they do decent enough job and they submit the bid, and at least we are familiar with the kind of work they do for us.
How far they put us behind?
As of right now, we have 35 work orders that need to be done.
35, so they caught up in the last 4 or 5 days. They took care of 30 of them? Because I was under the understanding just a few days ago it was 60.
Now, within the next couple of weeks, it'll probably be pretty close to 60, yes.
Okay.
We have some properties that we posted and sent the
Yes.
letter out.
Yeah, and counting. You're right about that, and counting, yeah.
Yeah, so we'd be pretty close to 55, 60 within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. All right.
Josh Green?
Thank you. John, I had a huge conversation with you on this. I was in your office the other day talking about this. I'm just glad to see that when a situation like this has come up, we found a way to adapt quickly. And, you know, we went to our neighbors in Independence and went, hey, who are you using? And yeah, let's do that because, you know, the fact that they're not doing their job means that we need to find somebody else. So just good job thinking on the fly and adapting, guys.
Mr. Van Buskirk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are we going to continue to use the current contractor in addition to the other two?
No.
We've notified that contractor we're terminating their contract in accordance with the provisions within that contract.
I noticed they were up here, I think, mowing at City Hall.
That's a separate
Few days
contract.
ago.
The termination we gave them was just in regards to nuisance abatement. It doesn't affect their contracts
it-
with the Public Works Department or the Parks Department for the mowing they have.
Okay, so they may still be doing work for the city?
I'd have to defer to Jim or Kevin Bogie on that. As far as I know, they're still, well, they were mowing here today. Earlier
Yeah.
today, they mowed
I
City
saw them
Hall.
in town today, in fact.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if they lose their job with us, maybe they can go mow for the state. They need some mowing done on our highway for sure. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Motion? Ms. Black? Second? I'll second. Mr. Myers? Please call the roll.
Alderman Black,
Yes?
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes?
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Motion passes. If the clerk would please read number 12.
a resolution authorizing and approving an agreement with Affordable Lawn Care for mowing and nuisance abatement services in the city of Raytown, Missouri, utilizing the City of Lee Summit, Missouri Cooperative Purchase Contract.
Discussion? Mr. Van Buskirk?
Make a motion to approve?
Second? Mr. Mock, was that you seconding? Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Van Buskirk,
Yes.
Alderman Mock,
Yes.
Alderman Azier,
Yes.
Alderman Jason Green,
Yes.
Alderman Myers,
Yes.
Alderman Emerson,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes?
Alderman Teeman,
Yes.
Alderman Josh Green,
Yes.
Alderman Moore,
Yes.
Motion passes. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All yea? Any nays? We are adjourned.